this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips how to respect wildlife when photographing wildlife in the field, coming up right after this. So we are here in the frigid cold in Canada.
Nice. Not that
and I don't know if you guys have ever seen me with my glasses before around my contacts. I know you've seen her with her glasses before.
I look like an owl with my glasses on, apparently.
We are with Alyssa's cousin, Jess. Say hello.
Hello.
And our friend, a guest today, Brad. He's a great photographer.
So this area has just been an awesome city park over the last several years for, owls every winter. I've seen barred, great horned saw-whet in here, heard screeches as well, so I'm sure they're here too. But that's what we're gonna go look for.
Hello guys, my name is Eddie. I'm a wildlife biologist, and on this channel I like to teach you how to enjoy the natural world, whether it's bird watching or wildlife photography or other things in environmental education. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Wildlife photography is obviously a fascinating hobby. It's growing very rapidly and more people are becoming interested in it, which is really awesome because it raises awareness about conservation. And I encourage everyone, no matter what level of budget you're on, to start taking photos of wildlife and other things in nature. It can all start out with a smartphone. But on the other hand, we also want to make sure that we are minimizing our negative impact on wildlife while photographing it. So we're going to go through 10 points in this video on how you can be the best environmental steward you can, be the most respectful you can to all the wildlife that you photograph. So let's get into it. Number one is do not bait or feed animals. This is really important because some wildlife photographers will actually put food out to lure animals in. This can be bad for animals because number one, it might not be food that animals are used to eating. It might not be good for their digestive system, and it can also lead to unnatural behavior of animals. So in the future, they might be approaching humans when they shouldn't, and that could cause additional problems for the wildlife as well. For example, if it's a potentially dangerous animal like a bear and it's approaching humans, that could both put that human and that bear in danger, which is not good for anyone. Now, there are instances, obviously, where wild animals are routinely fed, and it's fine. For example, bird feeders in general are fine. And actually, that's an interesting topic for another video, whether bird feeders are good or bad for birds, because it's actually pretty complicated, and overall, I would say they are good, but let me know in the comments if you want to hear a video on that subject as well.
So the first time I found this little saw-whet, I found him because I saw all this whitewash on the branches.
Very cool.
And I looked up and I saw the little white belly. He was sitting right there.
Amazing.
And I probably walked by this spot like 5 or 6 times and still didn't see him. He was camouflaged so well because they're so small. They're really only about that big.
Number two is try not to get too close or take too many photos of dens or nests of animals. Because obviously, a lot of times animals are engaging in breeding behavior in a den or a nest, and this is just a really valuable part of an animal's life cycle. It might cause the animals more stress than you need to. It might cause them to move to a different place. So again, try to stay as far away as you can from a den or nest. Number three is never chase or provoke an animal. Obviously, this can drain the animal of energy or make the animal more stressed out, which is not good, which can impact its chances of surviving in the wild after you photograph it. Number four is do not crowd an animal. And yeah, generally just try to keep a safe distance away from that animal. You want to take into account how many people are in your group. So let's say there's a group of large people and you know there's an animal somewhere. Maybe it's best to break up the group and go in smaller groups and take turns going a little bit closer to that animal. Again, try not to alter its natural behavior. And if you see other people going too close, then tell them to back away. So we found him.
Woo! Brad found him.
Brad found him. Led us to him. We made another video that gave you some in-depth information on how to find owls. maybe the best way to find an owl is just to find one of the experts who has seen them in an area before and let them lead you to it.
If they are willing to do so, which a lot of people aren't because people abuse owls.
So we just got a great look at a saw-whet owl. Now we are following Brad to our next owl. We might see 3 owls today. We will see.
We've already been extremely lucky just to see that Northern Saw-Whet, so.
Number 5 is when you're snapping photos, do not use the flash button. Nocturnal animals might be especially sensitive to the flash because just think of your own eyes as a human. At nighttime, your pupils are really dilated and a flash can temporarily blind you, and that can sort of put them in a state of disorientation. But even during the day, the flash can have an effect on animals as well. And there's other ways that you can get better photographs in lower light without using the flash. You just have to go on the internet and research ways to use your camera, adjust the settings in order to get the highest quality photographs in the lowest light possible. So number 6 is do not use the playback calls to attract animals. And this is especially applicable to birds. A lot of people trying to get photographs of birds will play the call of the bird to lure the bird in, which often works. Some birders will also do weird stuff with their mouths, like pishing, where they go psh, 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 which can attract birds as well. Now, some studies have shown that this can cause stress in wildlife. And I actually think it'd be interesting to make a video that explores this entire topic, all the research that has gone into this, because I think there needs to be more research done on this. And I'm not saying it's true that in 100% of the situations it's always going to be bad for the animal if you play its playbacks. I just really think you really just got to watch out when you do this. Number 1, obviously don't play playbacks or do pishing on a species of bird that is a species of conservation concern. Number 2, just really do it in moderation and don't do it very often. Only do it in a certain situation where you absolutely need a better photo. Number 3, don't do it during the breeding season, because obviously if you think about it, the worst time to disturb birds would be during the breeding season, because you could draw them away from their nests where they really need to be at their nest caring for their young.
Like this?
Yep.
Okay, and what do I do?
Say whatever you want.
Oh, it's recording. Oopsies.
Here.
My favorite part of this whole journey here, Eddie's fancy boots.
Sure, untied.
So fashionable. Anyway, so I took my hood off because people were saying fur kills and whatnot on our other owl video. It's not fur though. I love animals, I'm an advocate. I don't wear fur jackets, okay? Take your fur kills elsewhere. By the way, also, whose glasses are dorkier? Mine or Eddie's? Like, who looks more like a dork? You should probably post in the comments.
Post in the comments.
Post in the comments.
What do you think, Jess? Jess has her own glasses too.
Oh, Eddie! She voted for Eddie!
Number 7 is try to minimize the amount you touch and handle wildlife to get better photographs, because obviously it can stress out animals and you can pass on your own germs to animals as well, which might be harmful to them. This is really applicable to reptiles and amphibians. A lot of herpers will catch the snake or frog and they will try to set up the animal in a certain way to get the best photograph, the best angle possible. I have been a herper my entire life. I've always enjoyed catching snakes and frogs. And I'm definitely not against people going out and catching snakes and frogs. But again, just stick to the theme of minimizing it in moderation. For example, if you see a species of snake that you've already seen before, what's really the point of picking it up? And I would definitely not touch any species of concern, obviously for the good of conservation. Some people say that if you touch a frog, the oils on your skin are just gonna kill it right away. That's not true. But again, just really try to minimize how much you actually handle wildlife. And if you are going herping in a place that you are not familiar with, I would definitely suggest hiring a guide that is respectful to wildlife. For example, I went on a poison dart frog tour in Panama. It was an amazing tour. I'll put the card right here. And we touched a lot of frogs that day, but my guide was a professor who had published tons of papers, and he knew how to handle these poison dart frogs, treat them respectfully. And it wasn't that often that he brought people out there to actually find the frogs and handle the frogs, so it was a pretty low impact situation. Again, if you're going to a new place and you are going to find species of concern, you want to do it with someone who is an experienced scientist who really knows what they're doing. So number 8 is to avoid off-roading in sensitive habitats. This goes with whether you're driving in a vehicle or just walking on your feet. Just know that when you go off the path, you could be disturbing habitat, you could be disturbing the very habitat of the wildlife that you are trying to photograph, and that could negatively impact the wildlife as well, whether you're destroying the plants that it eats or stepping on nests.
Okay, so now we're gonna go look for a great horned owl, and all birds are different. They all have different personalities, and this one in particular has been quite skittish. There's been times I've come in here by accident and he's flown. I haven't even known he's there. So with this one, we'll keep our voices really low, try and walk slow and quiet, and yeah, hopefully he won't take off on us, because that's something really important to birding and to wildlife photography, is just not disturbing your subjects and being as just courteous as possible for them.
Number 9 is another obvious tip, but you want to keep the noise down, and this might seem like common sense, but a lot of times when you see a wild animal and you get really excited, it's really easy to be loud, and obviously if you're too loud, you could scare that wildlife away, but also it can just be stressful to the wildlife. So it's always a good idea to be really enthusiastic about everything you see in the field, but just be sure you keep a low voice. As possible, but my boots are so noisy on the snow. Looks like they found something. And we have found a great horned owl. What did you think of the great horned owl?
It was pretty cool.
Pretty cool, huh? This was the first time you ever saw an owl in your life, right, Jess?
It is. 2 in 1 day.
2 in 1 day.
Yep.
How old are you again, Jess?
16.
For all the adults out there watching this video, try your best to get kids and teenagers into nature. It's important for the future of our planet, right?
Yep.
When I was walking in there, I was trying to walk slowly so I wouldn't make too much noise with my boots. But unfortunately, there's not much I can do. These boots are so noisy no matter what I do. If you're gonna be photographing a lot of wildlife, pay attention to what kind of shoes you wear. Sometimes there's not much you can do if your boots are just so incredibly noisy, especially when you're walking on something like snow. And you also want to keep your movements to a minimum as well. Many wild animals are very visual like us, and if you make a sudden movement or a lot of movement, they'll see that. That'll scare them away as well. And it's also just good etiquette to the people who are also out in the field photographing wildlife. If you scare away an animal, other people might get annoyed that you scared away that animal. Now, some ways that you can minimize the noise that you make and the movement that you make while photographing wildlife in the field is just make sure all your camera gear is all completely set up before you get out there. For example, make sure all your settings are set that you're gonna use. Make sure that your lens that you're gonna use is screwed on. Let's say you're using a tripod. Make sure you set up that tripod. Just make sure all that stuff is set up before you get out there, and then you don't have to worry about it when you get out there. Now we are going in for our third owl, a barred owl.
Looking for a barred owl. Yeah.
Hey Alyssa, I see an owl.
So we've had no luck. I find that in this sort of habitat, they're really, really difficult to find because they blend in so well.
Blend in well.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so much, Brad.
You bet, that was fun. Yeah, so my Instagram tag is Bradley Sherk. And yeah, lots of owls on there.
Yeah, you can look at his photos. He is an amazing photographer. So. And number 10 is look for signs of distress in the animals. And then if that animal is showing distress, then just back away and leave it alone. And obviously this requires some knowledge of the behavior of animals because different animals show stress in different ways. For example, let's say you get pretty close to a nest of a species of bird and it flies above you and flies in circles around you. That is a pretty good sign that that bird is distressed. And even furthermore, in general, just do some additional research on the natural history and behavior of all the animals that you could be photographing so you know how to look for signs of distress. Anyways, guys, that is all we have for today. Again, on my channel, I teach you how to enjoy nature. I teach you about natural history and environmental issues, but also things to help you enjoy nature in the field. So whether it's wildlife photography tips, tips on how to find and identify wildlife, ecotourism travel guides, much more. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Here, come in. I'm filming the video because I thought you were sleeping, sorry. Do you want to be in the vid?
No. My face looks ugly.
Do you want to be in the vid?
No.
Too bad you are. Remember to hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. Exploring nature is always an adventure. Peace out.
We wear glasses for all of that?
Yes, I wore my glasses for all of it.
Oh my god.